Channel 35, our city, our channel. Would you like a mustache with that?
In LA this week,
LAPD Chief Charlie Beck gets the A-OK from his civilian bosses for 5 more years as chief of police, but not without controversy surrounding alleged favoritism towards officers, misleading crime stats, and a horse named George. I'm Gil Reyes with details next.
The big rubber ducky has arrived. Oh, wait. This is just the baby duck. Wait till you see the mother duck. I'm Anna Marcos, and that's coming up.
Kayaking at the LA River. I'm Rasha Goel. Up next, why you won't want to miss this boat.
hello and welcome to LA This Week. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ellen Chang. Chief Charlie Beck keeps his job as head of the Los Angeles Police Department for another 5-year term. Confidence, though, in the chief by the Police Commission had eroded in the weeks before the vote. But as Gil Reyes reports, the chief says he is focused on regaining their trust.
It's official. LAPD Chief Charlie Beck is allowed to keep his job. His civilian bosses, the LA Police Commission, voted 4-1 in favor of another 5-year term.
I'm humbled. I'm humbled by the support of the Police Commission.
The Police Commission based its decision on consistently falling crime rates since Beck took over as chief in 2009. Also, his department's outreach to low-income immigrant communities, resulting in the city's lowest crime numbers since the 1950s. However, in the weeks and months leading up to the reappointment, Chief Beck was hounded by allegations of dishonesty by the Police Commission. The latest incident had to do with a horse named George, which was sold to the LAPD. Chief Beck failed to notify the commission at the time of the sale that the horse belonged to his daughter, an LAPD officer, which could have posed a conflict of interest. The chief, seen here on another horse, now acknowledges he made a mistake and that he could have been more upfront to the commission about his knowledge of the deal. What commissioners called a lack of transparency may have also manifested when Beck didn't notify them about his South LA officers tampering with recording equipment in 80 patrol cars to avoid being monitored. Instead of disciplining those officers, Chief Beck let them go with a warning. Part of the reason why Commissioner Robert Saltzman voted against Beck's reappointment.
In my view, the most important of these problem areas are ensuring fairness and consistency in discipline and transparency and respect for civilian oversight.
But LA's mayor says he has faith that the chief will follow up on the commission's criticisms.
If this had been a chief who, when I sat down privately, said, this is BS, this is all unfair, there's no way, and was simply defensive, he wouldn't have had my support for a second term. But this is a chief who has heard that, who I'm committed to continuing to work with.
But the true work begins. The true work in reprioritizing the goals of the Los Angeles Police Department, in ensuring that we not only honor transparency in our speech, but in our action.
In downtown LA, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
As Beck heads into his second term, his department is accused of miscategorizing crime stats in an effort to make the LAPD look good. The LAPD says blame should be placed on the differences between how the FBI and the state define certain crimes and not on any intention to mislead the public. The LAPD maintains it has achieved consistently lower annual crime numbers over the past 11 years. While the head of the police department stays put, the Los Angeles Fire Department officially installs its new chief, Ralph Terrazas. Rasha Goel reports.
The LA City Council unanimously approved Mayor Eric Garcetti's selection of Ralph Terrazas to head the city's fire department. Terrazas, the first Latino fire chief since the department's founding in 1886, becomes the city's 18th fire chief.
Together, we will meet the challenges currently facing our department. Together, we will transform the department into a metric-driven, technologically sophisticated, community-focused organization that reflects the communities that we serve.
The new fire chief will be leading a department with more than 3,200 sworn personnel and 300 civilian employees. City leaders are looking forward to the changes he will bring to the LAFD at a time when the department has been criticized for its recruitment and hiring practices and issues with its 911 computer systems.
We're instituting a data-driven culture through a FireStat system that will help empower folks in the fire stations and at the highest levels of management. We're deploying our fire apparatuses and our ambulances with the help of GPS trackers for the first time. We're hiring our first new recruits since 2009 and keeping that momentum going to rebuild the strength of the numbers of this department. And we're also doing that through a reformed system that levels the playing field, making sure that we get the very best firefighters we can.
Right now, the men and women who wear the uniform, who are here with us today, have to lead a department that is funded at a fraction of what departments throughout the country are.
And hopes are that will all change. Terrazas has already been a game changer in the department. He worked on the Proposition F fire station bond, which facilitated the construction of 19 new LAFD stations. It's a new beginning for an old department, and all eyes are on the new captain to steer the ship in the right direction. I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
Chief Terrazas also wants to set up a high school fire academy modeled after the high school police academy operated by the Los Angeles Police Department. It could be the end of an almost year-long court battle. City leaders have come up with a possible deal that could encourage the managers of 2 trusts at the LA Department of Water and Power to allow an audit. Anna Marcos has the details.
A tug of war between city leaders and those who manage 2 worker trusts at the LA Department of Water and Power. At stake, $4 million. The city recently refused to release the money to the Joint Training Institute and the Joint Safety Institute, which oversees safety and training for DWP workers, unless the 2 trusts open up their books.
Anyone who receives public funds, ratepayer funds, must account for the use of those funds.
It is essential to each one of us that every ratepayer dollar be accounted for, that we bring transparency and sunlight. This is nothing less than what the people of Los Angeles deserve.
But now city council members have come up with a plan that they hope brings a solution. City leaders say they will release the money if more than a dozen conditions are met. Among them, the city must be allowed to audit the trust accounts for the past 5 years and every year going forward. And DWP managers must be appointed to the boards of the trusts.
We have put in place, if accepted by our partners, that will create the transparency that this city wants, needs, and expects. And also from a fiscal aspect, that we protect the city's resources, in particular DWP.
Ratepayer money needs to be accountable.
Brian Darcy, who heads the DWP's union, which oversees the trusts, said in a statement that there is still much work to do, but he is confident that there are solutions. For city leaders, this could be another step on the path to reforming the utility and making it more accessible and transparent to ratepayers. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
City leaders have also been working on an LADWP worker contract that saves taxpayers billions of dollars through salary changes and pension reforms. There's a growing concern that more and more TV and film productions are fleeing to other states and countries. That's why the city is giving the red carpet treatment to honor productions that shoot locally. Yana Kay has more.
Sheldon, are these letters from your grandmother?
Don't read those letters.
Oh, look, she calls you Moon Pie. That is so cute.
Put down the letters!
CBS sitcom The Big Bang Theory is one of the highest rated and most successful programs on television. And because it's shot locally in Los Angeles, it received special recognition from the city.
Thank you very much for this award and this honor. It's a privilege to work here in Hollywood. And as the producer in charge of post-production, I work right over there on Sunset, and it's a great place to be.
The proclamation is part of Councilmember Tom LaBonge's Made in Hollywood Honors, a 3-year-old program that pays tribute to locally made Emmy-nominated shows or Oscar-nominated films.
We're the entertainment capital of the world, and we've got to fight with the world now because the world's gone global.
Television industry executives and city officials held the event at 1600 Vine in Hollywood. The reality dance show Dancing with the Stars also received a proclamation, along with a handful of other shows. Several stars were on hand to show their support, such as actress Charlene Tilton, most famous for her role as Lucy Ewing on Dallas.
We employ thousands and thousands and thousands of people and give a product that uplifts, makes people think, and is art and wonderful, and it's important that we keep it here.
A total of 13 dramas were made in the state this year, largely due to California tax incentives. And if it wasn't for those credits, 2013 and 14 would have been the worst year on record since 2006 for locally produced dramas. According to a report by Film LA, these tax credits are helping to stem so-called runaway productions to other states and even countries, but they're not enough. And Golden Globe winner actress Diane Cannon can't help but express her frustration.
New York quadruples in tax incentives to what we have here. New York! Why? This is Hollywood. So I would like to see our state assembly and our legislators get it together. I would like to have Governor Brown sign that bill.
And that bill is AB 1839, which is currently making its way through the state legislature and will hopefully get signed by Governor Jerry Brown.
So far, so good. It's been universally supported, and it's a jobs bill providing incentives that will keep production in the state of California, not just Los Angeles and LA County and Hollywood, but the state of California, and it keeps us competitive with New York.
If the bill passes, officials hope the state will be hearing action more often. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
And since Yana filed the story, a state Senate committee has approved AB 1839, a $400 million film tax incentive, which rivals New York's. The bill is headed to the Senate floor. The world's largest rubber duck is about to make her debut in L.A. at the port. But as L.A. prepares for her arrival, Anna Marcos gets a preview peek at her smaller prototype.
Just about everybody who sees the big rubber duck on the City Hall steps wants to pose with the duck, touch the duck, and hug the duck.
Oh, the yellow little duck.
There are council members hobnobbing with the duck, photographers taking pictures of other photogs posing with the duck lovers with duck-colored lenses, little duck lovers, big duck lovers, people taking selfies, people posting pics with the duck. So why the fuss over the yellow critter?
Do you like rubber duckies?
Uh-huh.
Tell me why you like rubber duckies.
Rubber duckies is beautiful.
My brother and I, we just play in the bath, play with these little ducks, and they're actually yellow just like this one, too.
The rubber duck is making the rounds in L.A., in places like the zoo and the observatory, along with City Hall. He's been all around the world, but he is just a tease for the big mama duck, which will make her debut on the West Coast August 20th for San Pedro's Tall Ships Festival.
This little duck will serve a magnet to encourage people across the city, across the region, to visit our new LA waterfront.
There are 13 tall ships coming in, but led by the world's biggest duck.
The world's biggest rubber duck was the brainchild of Dutch artist Florentine Hoffman. He commissions different artists to make look-alike ducks, which have debuted in places like France, Beijing, Hong Kong, London, Australia, and Pittsburgh.
When I heard about this, I said, what the duck? I'm going to be here and support this.
Wow. This little baby monster is 10 feet tall, but we hear the mother duck is what? 90 feet? That's like 6 stories.
It's a symbol of hope, prosperity, put all politics aside, a symbol of love that we bring people together.
And yes, even reporters can catch big rubber duck fever. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
And that takes us to This Week in Tweets. With so many selfies taken, the baby rubber duck is getting a taste of what it's like to be a celebrity here in Tinseltown. One mom named Gloria posted this photo of her cute kids jumping for joy in front of the duck at City Hall. She writes, "Can't wait to see Mama Duck. Pick us for the free tickets, please." As Anna Marcos mentioned, that's in reference to the Tall Ships Festival at the Port of Los Angeles beginning August 20th, where the large mother duck will be leading the procession of tall ships coming into the port. And the Tall Ship Festival's official Twitter account posted this photo of baby duck rocking it in Hollywood, posing for photos with the public in front of the Hollywood sign at the Griffith Observatory. Here's a close-up tweeted by LA Waterfront's Twitter account. Baby duck also made a special trip to the Children's Hospital in Orange County to visit with young patients. If you'd like to find out more about the Tall Ships Festival, we'll have details in our Things to Do segment coming up. And for ducks of a different sort, as we all know, the Anaheim Ducks did not win the Stanley Cup this year, the LA Kings did. And so it was time for Anaheim's mayor to pay up after losing a wager to Mayor Eric Garcetti. And it all went down along the LA River.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Go, Kings, go.
A morning greeting with the side of gloating. Mayor Eric Garcetti didn't waste any time as volunteers and city leaders gathered around him along the Elysian Valley portion of the LA River, where he collected on his LA Kings versus Anaheim Ducks bet against Anaheim Mayor Tom Tate.
Now, when I made a bet with Mayor Tate, we said, let's not just make the same old food bet. And besides, the food between Anaheim and LA isn't that different. We're just going to be betting different tacos from each place. So let's talk about work that we're doing in our city and bet a community service project. We want to restore pride in an LA treasure in the same way that we've restored pride in the LA Kings.
And with that said, a trash pickup along the river commenced with the help of community organizations, including Aztec Rising and Friends of the LA River.
I just want to remind everybody that we're part of a larger community. It's not just the two-legged ones, but the four-legged ones and the flying ones and the swimming ones that are all part of this community that you're pledged to clean up today.
As promised, Mayor Tate rolled up his sleeves and proved he was no sore loser, saying the day even inspired him.
We have the Santa Ana River, and it could be equally as beautiful. And the idea of kayaking down the Santa Ana River, that gave me an idea. Yep. And the idea of restoring it, like I know your plans, you've got great plans, and it's going to be spectacular.
I want to thank the LA Kings for winning the Stanley Cup, and I want to thank our visitors from Anaheim and Orange County because the Kings have torn down the orange curtain, right? We're more seamless now than ever.
And it was a day of goodwill and good news. Mayor Garcetti announced Northeast Trees just received a $30,000 grant to begin planting trees along the river in Elysian Valley, further helping to bring life back to the LA River. And we saved this photo for last. Craig Samborski of the Tall Ships Festival shared this picture of Mayors Garcetti and Tate with Bailey at the LA River cleanup, posing with the baby rubber duck. And it's not just the river that's getting a sprucing up. The Great Wall of Los Angeles mural has been a big attraction for visitors over the years, but it was looking a bit worse for wear. Anna Marcos takes us to the annual cleanup for the iconic mural.
A bubble bath for the longest mural wall in the world isn't exactly like your typical bath time. We are talking high-velocity water spray and a special earth-friendly solvent to cut through all that chemical pollution, fertilizer, and grease. But yes, the Great Wall of Los Angeles is due for a shower.
It's an annual effort to preserve this largest monument to interracial harmony in America.
The Great Wall of Los Angeles was created in 1976 in a neglected ditch in the Tujunga Wash that had become an eyesore. More than 400 students, artists, and residents, along with a group called Spark, the Social and Public Art Resource Center, turned the ditch into a work of art and source of local history over the course of 5 summers. Then 3 years ago, the artwork, which is often inundated by water from the LA River, was fully restored.
It's come up as high as 4 feet from the top, but believe it or not, the water is not the biggest, it doesn't give the biggest damage to the mural. It's mostly chemicals and pollution, chemicals that are applied onto the top of the landscape above us, the Tujunga Greenbelt.
But the 2,754 feet of mural art is about to grow longer.
Believe it or not, the mural is not finished. The mural will be a mile long when it's completed. We've just received funding from the National Endowment of the Arts to begin the design of the next segments of the work, the 1960s section.
Eventually, the mural will be expanded to depict the local life and racial diversity of LA through the 19th century. So anything before the year 2000 will now go down as history and art. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
At LAUSD, the new school year has begun and hundreds of students are going to class ready to learn thanks to generous donations of much-needed school supplies. Yana Kay reports.
Carrying brand new backpacks, these kids are all set for the new school year.
I'm here to get backpacks and have fun.
The Dream Center, which helps families in need, recently hosted its annual Back-to-School Bash in Echo Park, a fun-filled event that distributes thousands of free backpacks to families from at-risk communities such as Lincoln Heights, South LA, and Watts.
We got backpacks with all the materials they need, notepads, pencils, crayons, everything they need to go back to school.
And hundreds of families lined up to make sure they didn't miss the opportunity to receive those school supplies, and especially the backpack.
I'm going to use it for school.
Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell was on hand passing out backpacks and doing his part to make sure no child left empty-handed.
There's everything in here that a child needs to study and to have all the supplies they need so they can focus on academics at school.
Families also enjoyed lots of other fun activities such as a zoo, inflatable jumpers, arts and crafts, and plenty of games. And while the kids had fun, parents were thankful for the supplies.
I think that it's great because it helps us as parents to provide for our kids to get ready to school.
And as the new school year gets underway, these students now have all they need to succeed. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
The Dream Center says it plans to give out 2,000 backpacks this year. A shuttle service to the Hollywood Sign viewing area extends to the end of the year. An old fire station gets a second life as a community park, and residents say no more to cars for sale parked along their streets. These stories and more in City Beat. What started out as a 3-month promotional shuttle service to the Hollywood Sign viewing area is being extended until the end of the year due to its popularity. A joint effort of the Department of Rec and Parks and Councilmember Tom LaBonge, the shuttle service will be operating every Saturday and Sunday, including holidays, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at a cost of $10 per person. In addition to the Hollywood Sign, the shuttle service will also take riders to premier hiking trails on Mount Hollywood Drive and the Griffith Observatory. For more information and to purchase tickets, go to laparks.org. The Department of Recreation and Parks recently broke ground at what was Old Fire Station 84 for the construction of a new community park. The old fire station is located at the corner of Canoga Avenue and Costanzo Street in Councilman Bob Blumenfield's district. The decommissioned single-story fire station was built in 1949 and served the community for almost 50 years when operations were relocated to a new facility in 2007. Community meetings were held and residents consulted before the decision was made to build a park at the quarter-acre property. As a nod to its history, the new park will feature a fire station-themed play area. The city recently celebrated the opening of its latest universally accessible playground at the Fernangeles Recreation Center in Sun Valley. The new inclusive playground with an agricultural theme designed by Shane's Inspiration features a play area that integrates fun farm elements like a bright red barn and a green tractor. The project is part of a collaborative venture between the Department of Rec and Parks, First 5 LA, and Shane's Inspiration to increase the number of accessible playgrounds in the city. Councilmember Nury Martinez is calling for the elimination of cars for sale parked on residential streets in Arleta, saying it's a quality of life issue for area residents. Martinez has introduced a motion to ban individuals from advertising and selling personal cars on certain streets in Arleta. This after residents reported a growing number of cars consistently parking on Van Nuys Boulevard and Woodman Avenue for the sole purpose of displaying them for private sale. Residents said those cars monopolize on-street parking, produce motor oil leaks, and are a source of visual blight in their neighborhoods. The issue still needs to be taken up by the full city council. In this week's list of things to do, the Tall Ships Festival at the Port of LA, a free Shakespeare festival at Griffith Park, and a unique art exhibit featuring the works of artists with disabilities. You can come visit the world's largest rubber duck, but the main event will be the Tall Ships Festival at the Port of Los Angeles, starting on Wednesday, August 20th through Sunday, August 24th. The festival will feature more than a dozen international and domestic grand tall ships from all over the Pacific Ocean. For 5 days, the Port of Los Angeles, just one of 3 West Coast ports bestowed with the honor of welcoming these beautiful vessels to their shores, will be affording visitors the rare chance to catch a glimpse, step aboard, and even set sail on some of the grandest ships of yore. You can find a schedule of events and purchase tickets at tallshipsfestivalLA.com. This summer, visit a small Italian provincial 1950s town when Independent Shakespeare Company brings a bit of La Dolce Vita as it presents its take on one of Shakespeare's most loved comedies, The Taming of the Shrew. It's all part of the Griffith Park Free Shakespeare Festival. The next Saturday show will be on August 23rd from 7 to 10 p.m. at the Old Zoo in Griffith Park, located at 4730 Crystal Springs Drive. Bring a blanket or a low-back chair and dress warmly. For more information, go to iscla.org. The Chinese American Museum, located at the El Pueblo Historical Monument, has a new exhibit called Trans-Pacific Ties, bridging Hong Kong and Los Angeles through art. That will run through mid-December. The exhibit, comprised of the works of more than 40 artists with disabilities, emphasizes the talents of two groups separated by the Pacific Ocean but united in their shared passion for art. The Chinese American Museum is located at 425 North Los Angeles Street. More info can be found at camla.org. LA This Week will take you inside the exhibit in an upcoming episode. And that's a look at some upcoming things to do. As we showed you earlier, the city continues to clean up and improve the LA River, but it's not all work and no play on the river. Our own Rasha Goel decided to get adventurous and took along videographer Casey Chung for a kayaking trip.
Ever thought of kayaking on the LA River? Well, I have, and I finally decided to give it a try for the first time. And what better tour guide to have than Bruce Saito, Executive Director of the LA Conservation Corps. The Paddle the LA River program gives people a taste of the history and beauty of a river that is considered a vital part of the city.
The intent and idea was to, one, provide recreation for all Angelenos in Los Angeles and visitors as well, but also to provide a greater awareness and education to the LA River.
The LA Conservation Corps, a nonprofit that provides at-risk youth and young adults with job skills training and work experience, is providing this awareness with their guided kayak tours along the 1.5-mile natural bottom stretch of the LA River. In the past, I had reported on this program from dry land, but getting into the kayak myself allowed me to truly appreciate the LA River.
The tour is set at 2 different locations. So if you're looking for something a little bit more calm and relaxed, you can come down to the Sepulveda Basin. But if you're up for a challenge and maybe for some rapids, then you could head down to Elysian Valley. I think I'm going to stick with the calm and relaxed.
It's all part of the LA River Revitalization Plan to transform the neglected waterway into a 51-mile greenway with a bike path, parks, public art, and waterfront businesses. Recently, a $1 billion restoration effort to fix an 11-mile section of the river from Glendale to downtown LA was slated, thanks to an agreement between the city and the federal government.
Besides maintaining and enhancing these green and open spaces, there's got to be a balanced approach to it. So there's going to be some development, well thought out and planned development.
Coming down to the LA River has been an eye-opener for some.
I loved it. It was very safe and very quiet and very pretty. You wouldn't think that the LA River would actually be pretty, but it is.
It was really fun kind of seeing that the LA River isn't as gross as everybody thinks it is.
And of course, one wouldn't know until they get their feet wet. In Balboa Park, I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
Kayak tours are offered 4 days a week and will run until mid-September. For pricing and other information, check out paddlethelaRiver.org. And that's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ellen Chang. A reminder that you could catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We leave you now with more of the LA River. See you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
Never had a traffic accident like this before, where a teenager has decided to run from the police and been struck by a motor vehicle.
5859 KF 5060, watch 3.
506
Curfew laws restrict the right of juveniles to be outdoors or in the public places after 10 p.m. until sunrise the next day. Such laws aim to establish a safer community and to better protect people from becoming victims of crimes or becoming involved in a crime. Most people don't agree with our curfew laws and would rather run the risk of being picked up by the police and ticketed for violation of curfew.
I want to thank Mr. Price for being a member of today's On Time Caucus. I want to thank Mr. Bonin. Sergeants. Where's Johnson? I need to know who's coming and when. Members, if you're in your office, please report to the council chambers. Mr. O'Farrell has arrived. Members report to the council chambers. Thank you to Mr. Bonin, Buscaino, Labange, O'Farrell, Parks, and Price. Sergeants, I need some more members, and I need them fast. Mr. Fuentes has arrived. need 2 more members. Good morning, good morning. It is Friday, August 22nd. I want to welcome you to your Los Angeles City Council meeting. Mr. Clerk, I do believe we have a quorum. Could you please call a roll?
Blumenfeld, Bonin, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Fuentes, Weezer, Carrasco, Coin, Labange, Martinez, O'Farrell, Parks, Price, Wesson. 10 members present, a quorum, Mr. President.
First order of business.
Approval of minutes.
Mr. Fuente moves. Mr. Bonin seconds. Next.
Committee to resolutions for approval.
Mr. Price moves. Mr. Parks seconds. Next.
Mr. President, there's a request to continue items 1E to September 9th.
Without objection.
Item 1 is an item notice for public hearing. The Department of Building and Safety reports that items 1C, F, and G may be received and filed inasmuch as the liens have been paid.
Okay, so without objection, that will be the order.
And just for the record, for item 1D, that property is located in Council District 5.
All righty. Continue. How many are left?
Mr. President, that leaves 3 items, and there are cards.
Then let's hold it and move on.
Items 2 and 3 are items noticed for public hearing. I'm sorry, items that which a public hearing has been held.
Specials members, I do not see any. Why don't we prepare to vote on this item? Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Forthwith on 2 per Mr. Buscaino. And next.
Items 4 through 8 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes required for consideration.
Okay, so without objection, those items are now before this body. Do we have cards?
Yes, cards on all items.
Then we will move on. We will hold those items and move on. That brings us where?
Mr. President, that brings council to items called special or presentations.
Mr. Buscaino.
Mr. President, I'd like to ask that request item number 36 on Wednesday's council agenda. Council file 14-1048 be reconsidered. And then move that item to be continued to Tuesday, 8/26, so that the record can reflect a no vote for myself and Mr. Englander. Colleagues, I don't want to re-debate this, but there was a little snafu in the closed session, then we had to go back into open session at the point.
Anyway, we got you, Mr.
Okay.
We got you, Joey B. Okay, let's vote on reconsideration.
For the record, this is the Beard versus City matter.
Okay, so Mr. Krikorian?
Well, just a point of order. Is it not possible for us to simply adjust that, given that it doesn't change the outcome, Mr. City Attorney? Can we just do that right now?
Because Mr. Englander is not here, my interpretation of the council rules is that a member has to be present to request that change.
Trust me, Mr. Krikorian, you know I asked every question possible.
Thank you.
Mr. Parks?
This is the Beard versus City matter, the $5 million settlement.
Okay, so let's vote on reconsideration. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate.
11 ayes.
Okay, so with that said, why don't we just continue it till this Tuesday?
And that's August 26th.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. City Attorney, Madam Clerk, I think what I'd like to do is go immediately. I know we have individuals that are here today for presentations, and we will get to those shortly. But I'd like for us to go into the special meeting so that we could take care of some business that is very important to the City of Los Angeles and the Board of Education. So with that said, can we recess and then go into the special meeting?
Yes, Blumenfeld, Bonin, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Fuentes, Weezer, Carrasco, Coin, Labange, Martinez, O'Farrell, Parks, Price, Weston, 11 members present, a quorum, Mr. President.
All right, let us proceed. If I could have our city newly minted city clerk come and explain to the council what is before us. Good to see you, Ms. Walcott.
Honorable City Council, I am Holly Walcott, City Clerk for the City of Los Angeles. It is my pleasure today to announce that the City Clerk has declared the results for the election that took place on August 12th for the LAUSD Board District 1 runoff, and that Dr. George McKenna III was the winner of that race. We had a very well-run and clean election. Despite the turnout, we had tried some new innovations during this election. We moved to biodegradable supplies in our poll sites. We also moved to a system that was scanning both the supplies and the ballots when they were going to the collection depots, and then to Piper Tech, where we count the ballots. We look forward to deploying those on a wider basis during the March and May elections. But today is all about Dr. McKenna, and with the indulgence of the chair, once the council has declared the results for the election, I would like to take the opportunity of swearing in Dr. McKenna.
Okay, before we vote on this item, I do have cards, and I think it's a good thing that George would get your feet wet a little bit here. So if I could have Mr. Walsh and Mr. Sachs come forward.
John
Mr.
Walsh,
Walsh.
blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org or J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems, speaking as a retired LAUSD teacher for 25 years, previous to that in the Peace Corps, and a New York City teacher. We're very, very happy that Mr. McKenna won. You know, you could have saved us a whole lot of trouble by just appointing him. He was the people's choice, okay? I mean, anybody knew he was the people's choice. And although our newly installed city clerk said the election was clean, it was one of the dirtiest elections I've ever seen. I won't even repeat the filth that Mr. Herb Wesson's candidate said about Dr. McKenna. He won fair, he won square, it wasn't close, it was close to a landslide. He was 3-1. 3-1 he was outspent. But the public, now a few people were fooled into voting for the other candidate, not in the African American community because this is a multiracial district. A few people in other communities were fooled into voting for Mr. Johnson. They parked him over at the county Education Commission. We are 100%. Please stay tuned. I hope that Mr. McKenna will speak. This is a gigantic victory. Too bad that Betty Pleasant had to lose her job because she spoke the truth in the African American press. HollywoodHighlands.org. It's all up there. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Walsh, you got some applause. Mr. Sachs.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Wilson. How are you?
Good.
Just real quick about this item. When is the reimbursement from LAUSD? It doesn't mention. It says timely, but in city talk, in political talk, timely could be the 14th month of the year. Who knows? But I appreciate your comments about it being important to the city. So I'm wondering, is it more important to the city than the repair of the city streets and sidewalks? And is it more important to the city for the repair of the DWP infrastructure? And is it more important to the city than the mayor's request for building safety? And more important to the city than the contract negotiations, even though the last contract was a 30% increase?
Mr. President, he is not talking about the certified election results.
I'm talking about the comments that the president of the city council made. This is an important item to city business, and I'm trying to rank it in terms of importance, Mr. Attorney. Don't you have that same kind of concerns for the city's infrastructure and importance of
Arnold,
items on the agenda?
why don't we just stay on the topic,
I'm
Mr.
just having
Sachs?
fun here, sir, so thank you. So declare the runoff. I have really, I'm not from the city of LA, so it doesn't really affect me, but the other parts of the importance on the list, those affect me because they get so much money from the government. We'll talk about that on the next item.
Mr. Herman? Mr. Herman, do you wish to speak on this? I have a card with your name on it. Let's start his time.
Arnold, you did a great job, although you're talking about the special on number 9. But the bottom line is this, folks. We are being bamboozled under item 9, which talks about what? From the city clerk, the resolution relative to the certified results of the special runoff elections held August 12th. HollywoodHighland.org, John Walsh was right. We squashed the difference in the change for you, Mr. Alec Johnson. You got the dump because we were not participating in special interest.
Why don't we try to stay on the subject, Batman?
Elections here and there under the item of 9 special. So the whole point is the public's response to that is we don't want the new voting change that you're asking, Mr. Herman.
That is not on the subject. This is the last warning. Stay on the subject or sit down.
Will you extend my time?
I'm not extending anything.
Then fine. Then I'm right. I know I'm right. And the people have heard it. You all are right. And we all know that we do not want to pay for special interest when it comes to the elections and the bribery of voting.
Now, with that said, I'd like to go back to the real world. Mr. Labange.
Mr. President, members, let's remember Marguerite Lamont, God rest her soul.
God rest her soul.
Who was on district business in San Diego at a conference, and God called her. All the work, I remember working with her on some of the schools in a district we share. But now a new man is here. And George McKenna, I'm very proud of you because you were a leader of many schools in your professional life, but especially George Washington High School prep and the work that you did to turn it around. And that's the key. And this opportunity to fill this seat will be their voice. So I look forward to working with you. I know we share some schools all the way up to the Wilshire area into Hollywood. I know right across the street from my district's LA High, and working with Mr. Wesson on needs of LA High School and other schools. So I thank you. I think it's important, members, for us to know that the Board of Education is to run the schools, but we should be there for them at 301 with our after-school programs, with our parks, with our museums, and all the work that we do. So I want to congratulate you, George, and your family and all the work. Give George McKenna a big hand there, a winner.
Well, now it's my honor, Madam Clerk, to call for the vote. Why don't we open the roll? Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
At this time, I would like to request that our city clerk and our school board member-elect meet at the center aisle, and let's do a swearing-in ceremony. LaBonge, why don't you help with the sound? I want us to be able to hear all of this.
Testing.
Now, there we are.
Thank you, Officer Johnson. Is it on? Is it on?
Can't tell which is off and on.
There we go. Testing? No? Testing? Testing?
This one works.
Testing? There we go.
All right, we're good to go.
Would you raise your prominent hand, sir, and repeat after me? I, George McKenna III,
I, George McKenna III,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Charter of the City of Los Angeles,
and the Charter of the City of Los Angeles,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of member of the Los Angeles Unified District Board of Education, District 1,
as member of the LA Unified School District Board, District Number 1,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Sir, you are duly sworn in. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
It is also my honor to present you with your certificate of election, showing that you've been elected, and if I could have you sign the oath of office. Congratulations.
If Member McKenna, if you could share a few words with this body, we'd be appreciative, sir.
I would be honored, Mr. President. No, I'll stand. I prefer to stand. I'll stand. Thank you all very much. Some of you may recall a little over 2 years ago, 2 years and about 1 month, I was here. And then City Councilman Eric Garcetti had a day for me on my retirement from the LA Unified School District. And I was content in my retirement. Busy, but content. And my dear friend and colleague died in office in December of last year. And the community approached me and requested strenuously that I participate in a process to become the board member. And I've done that, and here I am. I am privileged to be here. When I was last here, I talked to you about the importance of your role, even though you're not school board members, of looking out for children in schools. And you have children. You have grandchildren. You had children. You were a child. And so you had to come through school. Schools are very important. It's the one place where children must be by law. Every other law that applies to children that I know of tells them what they can't do. And those are good laws. They can't vote, they can't drive, they can't drink, they can't do a lot of things. But they must come to school. So we're very important to the future, the safety, the economic viability of this community. And your role as city council people and my role as a board member, even though I have District 1, there are 7 of us, all of our districts overlap your jurisdiction as well. So we have shared use issues. We have all kinds of issues that we have in common. And decisions that are made by one board member affect the entire school district, which means it affects the entire city. And I am privileged to be here. I want to thank my extended family and colleagues here. If you could come up here with me just for a moment, Jeff and all the rest, please come up. It's the only time we're going to get to do this. Okay. I want you to know who this family is. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana, and all my family is there, whatever family I have left. But from Damian Goodman to Carolyn Fowler to Vanjie Felton to Doris Dillard to Councilman Bob Farrell to Jefferson Crane, Secretary of the Board of LA Unified School District, this has been my family during the campaign. They're good people, and they will continue to stay with me because one thing I believe in is loyalty and trust. and I am grateful for this opportunity. I pledge to you my full enthusiastic effort. I am an old athlete. I don't know how to quit. I don't know how to succeed. I don't know how to forfeit. I show up and I play even if they whip us. They have to pay it to whip us. And I think on behalf of children, and this is the only reason I ran for this, I'm not seeking another political advantage over anybody. I'm not seeking a new profession. This is what I know how to do better than most. And I'm in it because I still believe our children deserve a quality education. So thank you for the honor, Mr. President. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Everyone here, thank you. I deeply appreciate it.
Now, thank you and congratulations. We look forward to working with you, sir. Okay, we're still in the special meeting. Madam Clerk, is there another item?
Yes, item 10, and I believe there's cards on that item.
Okay, let's, Mr. Walsh, Sachs, Herman, and Mr. Barajas, please come forward. And again, congratulations, Dr. McKenna, and we're here to help you any way that we can.
Triple congratulations. These concerns State Legislative John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. These are two assembly bills concerning water, regulating groundwater pumping, raising funds, permitting wells. This is allied to the Prop 1. The number one thing we must do, this is the brown, dirty water, the dirty brown water bond. We must defeat the dirty brown water bond because all it does is pump billions of dollars into the pockets of agribusiness and allows gigantic high-rises in Southern California. I'm not going to take the full 2 minutes. I don't take it unless I have something I really want to say. But I remember when they were trying to build a peripheral canal, people up in San Francisco, greenies in San Francisco, don't vote for this because they're going to pump all the water out of the Delta, and these water bills will not help that. And I like the bumper sticker that used to appear all over Northern California, and I've seen it again. Vote no. Vote no on Prop 1. Flush twice. LA needs the water.
Mr. Sachs, followed by Mr. Herman, followed by Mr. Barajas.
Yes, thank you. Good morning again, Arnold Sachs. And I have some real concerns, state legislative program A, but part of this item mentions local agencies, which will allow local agencies to regulate and develop groundwater management plans. Local agencies to regulate groundwater pumping, and more importantly, develop groundwater management plans. Would they be taking a page out of the DWP playbook or the Metropolitan Water District playbook? Whose management plans would they be following in the footsteps of? Maybe the City Council's management plans. It doesn't really clarify that. And so this could be gutted, what's that term they call in state legislation where they gut and amend, right? So be very careful when they talk about the regulation for the groundwater management plans. We see what a great job the management plans are for the city of LA and its management of regular water, never mind groundwater. So I'd be very concerned when the state legislation works with the city, considering all the state legislators that are sitting in the city council right now, or ex-state legislators, about just how this is going to play out in the future.
Okay, next speaker, is that you, Mr. Herman? Please come to the podium. And Mr. Barajas, if you could get in the queue.
For
yes,
the record,
sir.
folks, I did sign the card as Batman. And we're talking about the relative establishment of city positions to support AB 1739, SB 1168, to regulate groundwater pumping, raise funds, permit wells, and develop fracking or franking groundwater management plans. But for 80 and 100 years, our pipes throughout the city of Los Angeles have not been regulated, repaired, fixed, or managed due to this council, who's inactively not responsible to repair and regulate groundwater pumping for permit wells and raise funds. So, as Charlie Brown in Sacramento, Mr. Brown, Governor Brown, as I would say, save water, save our land, and use the most appropriate measurement, maybe a yard, maybe a rod stick, to find real water that we, your constituents, demand, as opposed to flush it out into the sea to create the drought. Neil Kashkari for governor. Keep your last 45 seconds and do a better management when it comes to providing accessible water for the Angelinos of Los Angeles. Thank you.
Mr. Barajas.
Well, I think what I got out of it is he's okay, but let's just stick to what the subject is. Water. Okay, fine. You need water. You want to bring it, out of the ground? It's weird because we're in a drought, but the way you're dealing with this water issue is weird because it just seems weird that the way that you're doing it is by burrowing the ground, and then you're going to tax the taxpayers more in order to do that. It's like the frackers when they use water, but you're going to frack for water when the frackers are fracking for oil. It's weird. This is all weird. It's like a dark age right now, where your policies are only reflecting the fact that you're not dealing with the problem. You have to create the water. There's a way. I already turned in that material to do that. But what are the initiatives? Instead of you thinking that you're going to control the situation by thinking that you can dig it up, seems a little weird.
Thank you. Let's prepare to vote on this item. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, let's quickly go to item.
Mr. President, I believe there's a request for the item to go forthwith.
Okay, without objection. As Mr. Buscaino, you prepare for your presentation, we're going to go quickly to item 8.
Excuse me, Mr. President, just for the record, you are
Let's adjourn the special meeting, go back into the regular meeting. We're back. So I want Mr. Buscaino to get prepared. In fact, Mr. Walsh, please. Item 8, John Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org or J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. This is another unsolved murder. This is a murder incident that was not committed by an LAPD officer. Yesterday, you paid out $5 million. That was a murder which you committed. But this is the unsolved murder of Andres Ordonez. Look, you've seen my T-shirt I bought on Hollywood Boulevard. Snitches get stitches. Everybody in the area where this crime occurred knows who did it. If they open their mouth, you think the LAPD is going to protect them? The LAPD is shooting at them too. The gangs will take care of anybody who opens their mouths and squeals, that's their term, on someone who committed murder. And incidentally, all this data, you've got all this data. Go check. I ask anybody out there, answer this. How many unsolved crime how much in rewards is sitting right now. I'm told it's over $3 million. And if that is a lie, show me how much. You vote these things, the LAPD, in between shooting down unarmed black people on the street, come up here and ask you and incidentally, I'll finish by saying there's a war, there's a gang war going on in L.A. now. It's resurgent. That's why all these killings are occurred, all these drive-bys. And you don't give a damn about it. There's a gang war going on. We need a gang truce. Please, gangs, get together and uphold the truce. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Okay, let's vote on this item. Madam Clerk, open the roll.
And also item 4, too, Mr. President.
And also item 4, close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Mr. Buscaino for presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Well, there's nothing weird about this rubber duck at the Port of Los Angeles, the Grand Canal of the Western Hemisphere. Amazing, amazing event that's taken shape this weekend. It kicked off on Wednesday, and I want to bring Aaron Short to come up and join me, Cynthia Ruiz from the Port of Los Angeles. And in case you haven't heard, have you seen, maybe if you tuned in to Good Morning America, the 60-foot rubber duck that we brought in to the Port of Los Angeles to kick off the 2014 Tall Ship Festival. I brought a short video with me to show each and every one of you what's going on this weekend, what's taken place the last 2 days. And for those of you in City Hall, I ask you, listening to City Hall, turn up your squat box and pump up the volume, because this video, though you can't see it, you'll be able to hear it. So, Channel 35, you can cue up the video, please.
Rubber duck. 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 Rubber duck.
Mr. President, this is right up your alley with that rubber duck. Look at you. Thank you very much. Those photos courtesy of the Port of Los Angeles, the Daily Breeze, and our very own
Mr. Buscaino. They were great, but he left me a gift. So he left me a little baby rubber duck to grow and to raise. And in a few years, he'll be in the harbor floating around with you.
That's right. Well, there are millions of those rubber ducks that washed ashore, and That's the history behind the duck. But that video is conclusive evidence that the viability of our LA waterfront to make it a regional, national destination. And the Port of Los Angeles has a long history of supporting tall ships. This is the 4th time we've hosted the Tall Ship Festival for the education and enjoyment for the Southern California area, and has hosted other successful tall ships, as I stated, in 2002, 2005, and 2008. Previous tall ships events at the port have attracted 250,000 visitors to experience the majesty and rich maritime history of working sail vessels. This year, we're expecting to surpass those numbers, expecting crowds of over 300,000 visitors at our Port of Los Angeles. And for more than a dozen tall ships will be participating. Behind me, you see, you'll find captains of the tall ships before us. Let's give them a City of Los Angeles warm welcome. So along with the ships, we have to remind ourselves this is a tall ship festival, even though the duck has taken a lot of media coverage on it. But along with the festival, you'll find a variety of live performances, arts and crafts vendors, food offerings, tours of the battleship Iowa and the SS Lane Victory, and educational exhibits. And as a special attraction, the Tall Ship Festival LA will include the world's largest rubber duck, standing 60 feet high and making its temporary home in the port's new downtown harbor. And by the way, we battled this duck with San Francisco, and we beat them. We have the rubber duck in Los Angeles. The creation of Dutch artist Florentine Hoffman, and variations of which have attracted crowds of more than 1 million visitors in cities around the world. I had the opportunity to officially welcome the duck and see a view of the tall ships with 50 students from Dana Middle School's STEAM magnet, that is. And it was a great correlation between the students seeing the port work, seeing the technology before them and how the port moves economically, but also seeing the artistic value that Mr. Hoffman provided in this rubber duck sculpture. The look on the Dana Middle School STEAM magnet students' faces when they first caught a glimpse of the rubber duck was incredible. And that's what it's about. It's about the joy of their faces, and it's about bringing people together along our waterfront. The port has, as you heard me say here, the port has made significant investments in the community over the last several years. And I hope when people come to visit San Pedro this weekend for the Tall Ship Festival, they feel what an extraordinary place it is and how much potential there is for even more development along our waterfront. We are seeking the best and highest use of our waterfront on both the San Pedro and Wilmington sides, and we want it to be act as a destination for everyone. And for the first time since taking office, it was great to see out of my window from my office people strolling the promenade on a Wednesday afternoon. We typically get the crowds on Saturday and Sunday, but to see the people stroll our promenade during the week was incredible. The Los Angeles City Council salutes and congratulates the Port of Los Angeles on its continued efforts to bring tall ship festivals to the people of Los Angeles and the people of Southern California, and we wish it to be a successful event. And with that, I want to turn it over to Cynthia Ruiz, representing the port. Yes, sir.
1 second. I want to call on Mr. Labange, if you will allow me.
Yes, I just had one question the other day in committee. In council, full council, we asked what was the name of the duck. No name, so I'm going to call it Joe Duck, okay? Because you're Joe Buscaino. Anybody object to that? It's a friendly amendment, okay? But more importantly, I want to thank the Port of Los Angeles. As a youth growing up in this city, we often would go to San Pedro and take the ferry across the Terminal Island before the Vincent Thomas Bridge was there to watch all the activity of what is a special spot of our city. And now the enhancement that you're pushing as the council member and your previous councilwoman who graced these chambers last meeting, Janice Hahn, the Port of Los Angeles and this vision, I just wanted to stand and thank you One, I know none of you are from Wilmington there. I don't see anybody from Wilmington there, so I don't want to ask the question. But I do think we should change the name of the Harbor Freeway to the San Pedro Freeway so people know when Vera Jimenez on Channel 5 says, and on the San Pedro Freeway, that's another thing. This is a wonderful weekend. Congratulations. There's nothing like our Port of Los Angeles. There's nothing like San Pedro. It's real, it's special, and it's authentic. Congratulations, and thank you for bringing Joe Duck to Los Angeles.
Thanks,
Mr. Price.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too just want to thank Councilman Buscaino and the Port of LA for the exciting developments that are occurring there. I had the opportunity to go on a tour last week, and so it saw some of the exciting adaptive reuses of the terminals, of the port areas, and the renewed excitement of being down there. And so the tall ships, the big duck, I think, are just symbols of the excitement that's occurring there. And I look forward to working closely with you and really appreciate the role that the port plays as a tool for economic development, not just for the area, but for the whole city.
Yes.
And, you know, it's our window on the world, if you will. And so we just appreciate your efforts, your combined efforts. Keep up the good work, and we look forward to seeing you.
Thank you, Mr. Price.
Mr. O'Farrell. Thank
you, Mr. President. I just want to, first of all, thank the Mama Ducky for allowing one of her ducklings to visit Echo Park Lake last week. It caused quite a bit of excitement for the half day that the little duckling was there. It was really cute. I've spent a lot of time at the Port of LA in a previous career many, many years ago, about 24 years ago or so, and I have always felt that it is an opportunity just waiting for some world-class investment. Why it isn't a major destination area for all of Los Angeles and all of the region is really beyond me. So if you're an investor out there looking to come to Los Angeles and create some very special placemaking, take a look at the San Pedro LA Harbor Master Plan to help guide some of your ideas and thinking. With the traffic, the foot traffic, the people traffic that we get at that harbor, there is no reason it cannot become a world-class destination, just like downtown Los Angeles, just like Hollywood, just like Universal City. Right. I think that is one of the great underutilized opportunities in all of Los Angeles. So I commend you also, Joe, for bringing the awareness about the opportunities at our harbor. It's a very special place, and I commend everyone there standing there for all of your work and advocacy on behalf of the harbor. And have a wonderful festival. It's going to be a blast, and I encourage anyone listening to this to spend some time at LA Harbor this weekend, and you'll know exactly what everyone's talking about what a special place it is. So congratulations. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to echo Mr. O'Farrell's comments and just add that it won't be underutilized for much longer because of the great work that our colleague Joe Buscaino and his predecessor Janice Hahn and all of the people at the port and the good people of San Pedro have put in. This weekend, this festival is kind of a coming out party, I think, for the waterfront. This is an opportunity for everybody in Los Angeles to see what an incredible recreational resource this is, and what a vital part of the history of Southern California the waterfront is as well. If you come in the west doors of City Hall, those great brass doors that were sculpted by the Armenian sculptor Henry Lyon early on when City Hall opened. Each of the panels on there presents a critical moment in the history of Los Angeles. And one of those panels is the creation of the breakwater at the San Pedro Harbor, and all that meant to the creation of the city that we know today as the metropolis that it is. This was one of the most important parts of Los Angeles history. It continues to be one of the most important parts of our current city and its economy, and now it's going to be one of the most important parts of Southern California tourism as well. And so I really want to applaud you, Joe, and all of you here who've contributed so much to making that vision a reality, because it really is. It's one of my favorite places to go now with my kids, and I hope that this Tall Ships Festival will be an opportunity for others to see what a wonderful place it really is. So congratulations.
Thanks, Paul.
And Mr. Buscaino, just as your friend, I want to say that we as a council feel really comforted knowing that you're there and that you're going to use all of your skills and creativity to take this jewel that we've had for a long time, properly polish it, and bring in the type of economic development that this city wants, needs, and expects. So you have my pledge to stand with you every step of the way.
Thank you.
As you move to properly transform an asset that is underutilized by us. So with that said,
Thank you,
my
Mr.
dear
President.
friend, back to you.
Okay, with that, thanks, colleagues, for sharing your thoughts. And thanks for agreeing to stand with me and walk with me on this and looking for the best and highest use of our waterfront redevelopment. I want to welcome Cynthia Ruiz, who's been championing these efforts in marketing and bringing people down to our waterfront. Help me welcome Cynthia Ruiz from the Port of Los Angeles.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Council President Wesson and council members. On behalf of our Executive Director, Jean Soroka, I'm happy to represent the Port this morning. And the tall ships are nothing new. It's part of our tradition at the Port. The first tall ship sailed into the Port in 1542. Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo sailed the first ship in, and we've continued that tradition ever since. But this weekend is so important for us because with the Tall Ship Festival, we're celebrating the old, but we're also bringing in the new LA waterfront. This is part of the launch of the LA waterfront. And I want to take this opportunity to really thank Councilmember Buscaino for being such a leader and a hero down there. We are so excited. It's not too late to get your tickets to the Tall Ship Festival. You can go to www.tallshipsla.com. It's going to be a great event, so come on down to the LA waterfront. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Joe.
And lastly, if I may, Mr. President, Craig Sambrowski cannot be with us. He's a producer of the event, but also has worked tightly with my staff and also Cynthia's folks at the Port. But here representing the Tall Ship Festival is Aaron Short to say a few words.
Hi, I'm Erin Short. I'm with Tall Ships America. The Tall Ships are here as part of an overall event. We are, Tall Ships America is a member organization based out of Newport, Rhode Island, and many of the Tall Ships here are our members. LA is the first stop in a series of events called the Tall Ships Challenge. From here, they go down to San Diego, and then they will go up to Dana Point. From San Pedro to San Diego, the ships will be racing. So if anyone is out on the water on Monday afternoon, you will see the ships actually racing out of San Pedro. But I do want to say, on behalf of Tall Ships America and the Tall Ships, I want to thank the Port of LA and Councilman Buscaino for your support in bringing the Tall Ships to Los Angeles. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Aaron. All right. So can we sign an agreement coming back in 2 years? Absolutely. All right, fantastic. Let's get working on that. Let's do this. So with that, Becca Lou, where's Becca? We have a resolution. Do we have it? Oh, I'm sorry.
It's right there, Joe. Get your glasses.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Becca. On behalf of the City of Los Angeles, Mayor Garcetti, who also believes that we need to bring in investment down at the Port of Los Angeles and also is standing with me, and we're standing together and working on that effort. I want to thank Mayor Garcetti for also believing in the waterfront redevelopment. We want to recognize the Tall Ships Festival, LA, 2014. Congratulations also to the Port of Los Angeles and its continued efforts to bring the festival to the people of Los Angeles and throughout Southern California. Right.
Here, here. Good job, Mr. Buscaino. Thank you so much, and all the folks from the Port of Los Angeles and Tall Ships, represented by Ms. Short.
And
Thank
Tom, you
so
may
much.
ask, we have certificates for all the captains behind me as well.
Good job. We'll do that in the press room. Thank you very much, Joe. Good job. Go down to San Pedro this weekend. Port of Los Angeles. Mr. Cedillo of the 1st District, your special presentation awaits.
Come on, guys. And then we've got resolutions for you. I don't know where they're at.
Mr. Sadia.
Mr. Labange, Mr. President, there was a discussion earlier about what we should name the duck, and my offer to that is Cold Duck. See, this weekend we have Cold Duck, we have Andy Vargas and the Soletos, we have Susie Hansen and her Latin band, and we have Eduardo Arenas, Chicano Batman, amongst 14 bands that will be performing for the first annual Latin Jazz and Music Festival in Northeast Los Angeles. It's going to be an incredible weekend. It starts, well, actually, it starts tonight with our open house, and we'll have a jazz band performing there. Then it starts tomorrow, 10 o'clock, 10 to 7. We'll have some local high school bands. We'll have a ribbon cutting. We'll have food trucks from all over the city. We'll have dancing, and we're going to have a good time. And so we're very excited to bring all this great music to the Northeast as we develop the city and the community that we aspire to during our elections. And so with that, I want to introduce, I love this part because I know these people and I know their music. I've listened to it, and it's really the best part of my job is being able to work with people that I appreciate and admire. So who's got the resolutions? Colorado, there you go. Come on, brother. Step up. So with that, I want to introduce a young man that I got to meet early on when the Conga Room opened up on Wilshire Boulevard, and I got to hear him. He was then at that time period opening or leading Carlos Santana's band on its worldwide tour. A great young man, a great humanitarian. I see him at all the events like Padres Contra el Cáncer, someone I really admire and respect. Andy Vargas from Andy Vargas and the Soletos. My brother, thank you. Thank you very much. There you go. Someone I've known, over 40 years, 45, right? Yeah, close to 45. Someone I've known for about 40 years. I remember when he won the East LA Battle of the Bands, and that you could hardly be any bigger than that. I hadn't seen him for a while, and then when I saw him 10 years ago, I hadn't seen him. We saw him at a reunion, and I said, you know what? I'm going to have you headline my next event, and he was the headline at the Conga Room, and that was 10 years ago. 10 years ago. But I'm happy to see him. We get to see each other a lot more now. His name's Jose Cuadra, but everybody just knows him as Chepe. And he's one of the best trumpeters and singers. Let me tell you, when he sings, close your eyes and you can just really, really appreciate him. Cold Duck, Chepe. Susie Hansen, I first got to hear when you performed for Richard Polanco. Yeah. Yeah. And she's from Highland Park, so we have an extra appreciation for her because she is right from the community. And Susie, like Andy and the rest of them, she's always at all the great community events, always bringing support and music and rhythm. She's just an outstanding person, an outstanding musician. Susie Hansen and her Latin band. Okay. Thank you. And the rising star, the new on the scene. What I love, there's a whole new movement of these young bands that are emerging, that are taking elements of the Latin music scene, from mariachi to Latin jazz to salsa, to just a whole range of what the Latin music experience is, and then bringing it together and creating a new genre. And this young man and his band, instant hit when they came together, Eduardo Arenas with Chicano Batman. Jeff will speak. Okay, let's just hear from Chepe. Don't forget, it's tomorrow, and Sunday, 10 to 7. It's free to the public. It's a great price. If you don't like the music, we'll give you the money back. It's a joke.
I know, it didn't work.
And like I said, we're going to have food trucks, services from the city, the whole range of stuff. Let me, speaking on behalf of everyone for the jazz concert. Oh, and it's being put together by Jose Rizzo from K-Jazz. And Jose Rizzo's our artistic director. Poncho Sanchez will be playing, as well as Mongorama. Let me do one last thing here. If I may, Mr. President. Here's the lineup, real quick. Heart of Los Angeles Big Band, Lucky Seven Mambo, Susie Hansen Latin Band, Gilbert Castellanos and the new Latin Jazz Quintet, Banda Brothers, Cold Duck, Son Mayor. That's tomorrow. And then if you can survive that, with all the excitement, then on Sunday we have Plaza de la Raza Latin Jazz Ensemble, Bravo High Latin Jazz Band, Hip Street, Andy Vargas and Soleros, Chicano Batman, Jose Rizzo Mongorama, and closing with Poncho Sanchez and the Latin Jazz Band. That's the lineup for 2 days. Again, it's in Highland Park at the Sycamore Grove Park, and Metro has discounts for everyone. Mr. President, we're going to hear from Chepe, and then
Goal line, take the goal line.
Take the goal line,
Yeah.
and discounts from the goal line.
Discount. Let's have another great graduate of Roosevelt High speak right now.
Yes, sir.
It's an honor and a privilege to be in the city of Los Angeles for, I'm 60 years old. We're proud to both be 60.
That's right.
Okay. Roosevelt High School.
The new 40.
Reed Street Elementary and Hollenbeck Junior High School. But music has always been a great drive for me during my growing up in Hollenbeck Junior High School, going to the Los Angeles Music and Art School in Los Angeles, getting started, and kind of beating the elements growing up in Boyle Heights, and sharing our philosophy in music and enjoying yourself and being able to express yourself in different ways. We work a lot with a lot of communities, a lot of community groups, a lot of young children, and inspiring them to continue and to create new hobbies like performing and being a musician and staying off the streets and having fun and enjoying yourselves. And our philosophy has always been having a great time playing music and enjoying it and watching people dance and have a great time throughout all the 44 years that Cold Duck's been around. And we're blessed, totally blessed, to have an incredible fan base in Los Angeles. And we're hoping to keep continuing our success in what we're doing and how we're doing it. And we're excited that we got invited by Gil and the group to perform. And we're looking forward to this weekend with an incredible group of musicians during these 2 days of concerts. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cedillo. Thank you for your leadership for Highland Park and the beautiful Arroyo Seco.
I heard you got some moves, so just come on down.
I know where to go. I know. You let Marshall guys there. It's okay. Okay. Thank you. Madam Clerk, next item.
Item 1, called special for cards.
Item 1 is called special by cards. Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, and or J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. This concerns building and safety, the liens. Again, I always torture you when I say that you're doing a good job here, and I don't know if anybody's coming up to protest your lien, but if you protest the lien, you'll get an automatic discount. I'm saying that to anyone who will get a lien in the future. Always come down here and negotiate the lien, because the liens are not written in stone. That's the power of being able to get up in the state of California under the public comment rules, the Ralph M. Brown Act. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Mr. Herman.
Please don't hurt me. Mr. Herman, in response to the call and demand under item 1 for 1 minute, I'm just pointing out in District 8, CD8, 1940 West 82nd Street, The Leans, Felipe Fuentes of District 17, this draconian council has become the harsh of reality for the purpose of the violation of the law. Mr. Fuentes, penalties towards individuals with extreme code and law violations called for excessive, severe penalties, Mr. Felipe Fuentes, for the smallest offense. Although you reside in District 17 and many other councilmen too, they too participate in the activity of illegal liens. Extortion, extortion, extortion. For what purpose? Morally, to abuse the law? Harsh treatment, Mr. Krikorian. Draconian. Harsh code violations under this draconian council. Draconian council. D-R-A-C-O-N-I-A-N. For the harsh code violations and harsh penalties. Undisciplined freedom to counter and defend your rights for the smallest offense. Mr. Krikorian, the smallest offense when it comes to liens on the penalties and the code violations you suppress the people of Los Angeles with. All of you in Los Angeles, all of you Angelinos, in every district of the 15 districts, come here to LA and protest the legal process of your lien. For the purpose, they are predatory and violate your rights of the first right of Constitution to be heard and defend your lien. Thank you.
Juan Alcala.
Absolutely correct. What Mr. Herman said. What is the purpose of a lien? To lien on the people that have worked all their lives just to get a place to live, a home. That is the purpose of a lien. Don't tell me you have created a beautiful city thanks to your liens. Your city, as I see it, as I ride my bike along all the neighborhoods, your city is pretty crappy despite your liens. And all you're doing is penalizing the people that already went ahead and bought some property. So how can you tell me that you're trying to help people out of homelessness when you're putting so much pressure on everybody? By the way, your streets are really crappy. Your sidewalks are really crappy. And you're penalizing the people for having something wrong with their fence. You got no defense, you idiots. You have absolutely no defense. You should be prosecuted, all of you, for thievery to the people. You should go back to where you belong, wherever the hell that is.
Arnold Sachs.
Yes, thank you again, Arnold Sachs. And I'm not going to I'm going to address the part of this item that deals with the inspection costs, because that involves personnel. You know, when I've come up here before with articles, the Bureau of Sanitation has workers going out to inspect stores giving out plastic bags in violation of the city's new plastic bag ordinance. They have inspectors going out to check on clucking chickens, too noisy. They have inspectors checking on alleys that are too dirty. But they have no inspectors checking on blighted properties on the foreclosure registry. That's $1,000 that the city council enacted as far as an ordinance, $1,000 a day for foreclosed properties. By the way, if you have a problem with a property in your neighborhood that you feel is blighted, contact the police, contact and ask for the senior lead officer of the LAPD to come out and express your complaint to them. It seems that the city attorney is working with the LAPD senior lead officers to address those problems, because you're not going to get anywhere, the city, any office. This article from June 8th of this year talks about the city attorney, Mr. Fuhrer, developing an uber regulatory agency, writing HERD, on practices that harm the quality of life but aren't being addressed by oversight agencies treating their industries with kids' gloves. Sounds exactly what's happening with foreclosed, blighted properties. Senior lead police officer, that's the person you want to speak to.
That completes the comments on item number 1. Madam Clerk, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
11 ayes. Next item.
Item 5, call special for cards.
Called special. Mr. Walsh, number 5.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. You want to waste money? You know, L.A. is not a country. Countries have ambassadors. It's a city. But we have, for $140,000, you could fix about a dozen pipes with $140,000. But you don't have money for fixing the pipes. You have money for river ambassadors. What is a river ambassador? They come with a sash that says river ambassador, and they walk up and down the paved, concrete-lined L.A. River. We don't need river ambassadors. Believe me, the L.A. Times reporters, the rest of them, they're watching internet porn right now. They're not paying any attention to the meeting. I'm telling you right now, we don't need 140,000. 140,000 here, 140,000 there, 140,000 here, there. It begins to add up to real money. We don't and we cannot afford a river ambassador. Go and see the river. You don't need a friend of Gil Cedillo getting $3,000 a day, I understand, to be a river ambassador. This is pork. This is corruption. 140,000. Call your city council right now and tell them to fold the River Ambassador program 4 ways and to stick it up the duck's ass. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Arnold Sachs. Mr. Walsh, your comments are out of time to a public comment. Thank you, Mr. Walsh.
Yes, thank you. Good morning again, Arnold Sachs. And very quickly, you know what's great about this item? The fact that the city and the city agencies that are involved in it will do this breakdown on the accountability of this funding. And the public doesn't really see this, so you have to read it to appreciate it. That authorized the controller to change some funds within 2 accounts. Salaries as needed, $89. Office and administrative expenses, $202. So you got $291. They're detailing that out. You ask them about $4 million for the DWP? Haven't got a clue. Haven't got a clue as to where the money went, Who got the money? How's the money being spent? Don't know. $291? We got it right here on the agenda.
Comments. That completes the comments, Madam Clerk. There's no speakers on the queue. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
So ordered. Next item. Now, Mr. O'Farrell, forthwith. Thank you so much. Next item.
Item 6 calls pleasure for cards.
Mr. Walsh, your card will be noted. I give it to the clerk. Mr. Sachs, please proceed to the microphone.
Yes, thank you again, Arnold Sachs. And this is a transfer of $1.4 million for Housing and Community Investment Department for providing homeless services on Skid Row. More money into that black hole, no pun intended, but there's no other areas within the city. Is there any money going into, I know that homelessness and people living in trailers or vehicles is big in Venice area. Is there any money going there for that problem? Is there any money going out in the valley for the homeless problem out there? Any money going to the VA hospital for the homeless problem there? No. It's all going to Skid Row under the Operation Healthy Streets program. Healthy streets in L.A.? I thought there was a problem with the streets. Didn't Mr. Buscaino and Mr. Englander have a presentation about health? Oh, those are fixing streets. Fixing streets, healthy streets. You get lost in the semantics here. And the Housing and Community Investment Department, is that the department that took over for HACLA, the Housing Authority of the City of L.A.? Are they interrelated?
All right, Mr. Sachs, someone will help you at the ropes if you have that specific question.
Somebody can answer that question right
At the ropes, sir.
The public's,
Because it's public comment. All I want to do is hear you.
well, sometimes we get give and take from some of the members of the council on questions we ask, sir. So I'm just asking that question. Because HACLA, that's the nonprofit. They don't answer to the city.
Brian Barajas.
All right. Look, if you really want to deal with the poor issue, you want to go directly with the people themselves. This thing that you're doing seems to be of a sort of like it's not you're dealing with it indirectly or directly. It's sort of like you're not trying to eradicate the poor issue by helping the individual. It just seems like you're trying to, clean something, but you're just not, you don't know how to fix it. So, but in order to deal with the poor issue, I suggest that you look into your soul. Because the only way we as Americans deal with the poverty issue, get rid of the goddamn British Empire.
Mr. Herman.
I did fill out my card as Batman, and although the councilman under item 6, Mr. Weezar, is not here for providing services for the homeless on Skid Row, it's a damn shame in America that we have the number of population of homeless people, veterans, and I emphasize our veterans, fellow Americans, who both served you, this city, and all you Angelenos for the measly amount to transfer $1 million, $399,000, 441 cents, as Mr. He stepped away. Arnold Sachs said. So I am not wrong volunteering as Batman to speak on behalf of housing for the community and investment for the Department of the Homeless Population here in the city of Los Angeles. How many times do you walk on a sidewalk on the street and access it to see the homeless population that we elected anew to what, Mr. Garcetti? Exactly. Do nothing. Do anything care? Do anybody bother you, Mr. Garcetti, to see the population? Mr. Mayor, the homeless population is on our street. Mainly African Americans and the other population of minorities. So where do we take stance for the homeless population and more so our veterans? Mr. Riley Thomas, you build your garage for your home to rent. What about those Americans who live in their homes today because you cannot provide them a home? So the issue I bring to heart and to all you fellow Americans, when the Sergeant of Arms want to throw Batman out of City Hall for wearing a mask, saying that he's a threat, this is what I look like. This is my ugly-looking face, Mr. City Council, all 15 members of you.
Juan Alcala.
I'm getting sick and tired of you calling this a great city, you calling this a great country, you calling this a great society. I just went to Mexico and found out that there's less homeless people in a country that you call backward. What is the measure of a backwards country? I think the greedier the country, the more backwards it is. And this is a hell of a greedy country when it comes to real estate. Nobody can afford anything anymore because everybody's trying to get rich with real estate. So, how are we going to solve the problem of homelessness? By providing services out on the street with $1,000 and some dollars? What the hell is that going to do? Think about it. I don't even know where that money is really going. $1,000 and some dollars to help the homeless? Are you stupid or what? Or am I stupid? Somebody's stupid. It's 33 seconds left, sir. 28 and counting, 27. And every day we're getting more homeless people because real estate is going up and up and up. All you real estate tycoons, stick your money up your ass. That's where it belongs, because you're not going to take it with you, so you might as well help create a program where everybody gets a home.
For those listening at home and in the sound of my voice, I apologize for the foul language. It's allowed by law. Robert, Mr. Robert, Lucas Robert. Sergeant, will you tell the gentleman? Thank you.
Good morning, Council. I'm going to share with you a little bit of reality of what this means to Skid Row. May not seem like a lot of money, but if you're down there and live in that area, all the resources that can be scraped together to help what is an ongoing problem is greatly appreciated. With the health and safety issues and the people down there who are trying to utilize the resources and the benefits that are there for us, and to keep from being distracted from the jungle that you have to walk through on a daily basis and still stay focused, takes great resolve. The only comment that I can make is that when this money is allotted for the housing, to please remind the people that are responsible for choosing the people for this housing is to be reminded, the people that are already there, that this is transitional. To become complacent down there and to take up space for other people waiting for the same benefits is a shame. What I see down there living in that environment is people who are taking advantage, driving a $10,000 car, doing nothing but sitting on their hands. That's the reality of it. The benefits are needed. The housing will never be enough. My concern is the people who are in charge and responsible for helping these people transition out. Please tighten the screws. There are worthy people waiting in the wings for these resources.
Thank you. That concludes public comment on this item number 6. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
So ordered. Next item.
And there's a request for this item to go forthwith, Mr. President.
Forthwith? Forthwith, immediately. Forthwith by the fine councilman of the 3rd District, Mr. Blumenfield. Okay.
Next item is item 7, call special for cards.
Mr. Walsh, your card will be noted. You're out of time on this. Mr. Aikala, followed by Mr. Herman. 1 minute for Mr. Aikala, 1 minute for Mr. Herman.
The only thing I can say on this item is snitches get stitches, like Mr. Walsh says. Go ahead and reinstate all the rewards you want, but until you create a better society, it's not going to help anybody anyway. And I apologize. I thought you were only allotting $1,000 and some dollars. It was $1 million and some dollars, but it's still a drop in the bucket for the homeless. There's no way to solve the problem like that.
Mr. Herman.
Wednesday, August 20th. August 20th, item 35, old business, item 36. The city of Los Angeles paid out millions of dollars for rewards and abuse.
He's not talking about this one.
So I'm not talking about Mr. City Attorney. Is Batman wrong not to speak about the process of your rewards? Should I say that Mr. John Walsh from Hollywood Highland is wrong when he says snitches get stitches, so you have to put a reward? Should I say that Mr. Akala is wrong for saying snitches get stitches in Los Angeles? That's the bottom line. Batman knows it, Mr. City Attorney, and do not hide behind the computer, Dion. For the truth is this: we cannot hold $50,000 for these rewards. Stop the nonsense. Put up transparency.
All right. Let's open the roll on this item. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Forthwith. Next item.
Mr. President, that brings council to general public comment.
Thank you. Mr. Haas, followed by Mr. Marsh.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed public officials elected, and the general public that should be of interest. I stood back here in October 2011 and forewarned you about a gentleman planning to steal the Republican nomination. His hubris stipulated so in his own film. We kind of had to steal the Republican nomination. What he stole from this city was the Learning Company merger with Mattel, lost $3 billion. No investigation. The assistant U.S. attorney involved in that, because it was merged in Delaware, Combe Connolly, then became a partner of his law firm. From 1999 to August 2001, the Learning Company, eToys.com, which I was the official appointed by the court to run, had 1,000 employees kidnapped because he arranged for the attorney for the creditors committee, the attorney for the debtor, and the CEO that was put in my place all worked for him. I pointed this out in court. It's actually confessed that they did fraud on the court. The judge said she didn't care because the U.S. attorney involved got appointed on August 2nd, 2001, and stayed there for 7 years, killing the investigation. It's an ongoing crime that tomorrow, if I was lawfully put back in my seat where I belong, I could return 1,000 jobs to this city on an annual basis that's now part of Toys R Us. E-Toys and KB Toys were in bankruptcy multiple times and wound up each time back at Bain Capital, now under Toys R Us. And the federal judge in this court said that it's vexatious litigation be trying to prove the fraud. From February 1999 to August 2001, the CEO claims to be retroactively retired. Could Al Capone retroactively retire from his organized crimes? I'm the only one doing this. Why am I standing alone? Why is not somebody helping me? Have a good day.
Robert. Mr. Robert. You're next after this gentleman.
Hi, first let me thank everybody in the building for being here and listening to us.
Thank you, Mr. Marsh.
Thank you for this building, although I do think it's a bit overcompensating. You might serve the people a little better to hold this type of thing where people can actually get to it, maybe in mass public, maybe downtown somewhere in the actual heart of the city. But me, myself, I don't believe in any of this going on right here. I'm an anarchist. I really feel like anybody with a degree of intellect could step up here and make valid points as to why you should vote against something, and we're still going to hear 11 ayes. Because you just get paid way too well not to listen to things that are really valid and really important. But moving forward, I'm going to propose an idea for you guys to walk away from your jobs before your public violates you for your ignorance. For the mass public to stop voting, start protesting against the tyrannical government rule over their basic and natural human rights. These include natural human rights such as freedom of speech, freedom to defend yourself. We live in a world where we are tricked every day by government officials such as yourselves here into believing that you know better than us how to govern our livelihood. Not only are we tricked into voting you into office and allowing you 11 people to decide how millions of people should be governed, we're also tricked into paying for it. And every time I come to this council meeting, I realize that when it comes time for us non-government affiliated people to speak, you're all laughing amongst each other, talking, nobody's listening. This guy's probably talking about something like, what are we gonna have for lunch today, Bobby? And it's a clown show. It really is, truly, and you guys are really gonna realize it when your government is ousted, because we have the right to do it. Thank you.
Good afternoon again. My name is Robert Lucas. Freedom of speech is a wonderful thing. You know, there are a lot of people that support me in what I'm trying to do downtown, and a few of them are here with me today. Mr. Buscaino has one of his Harbor area constituents here, Miss Linda Delatorre. She's at 5th and San Pedro. She got there on the 5th of this month with an ankle bracelet. I'm happy to announce to you she got a job 3 days ago with the Project 360. I never knew that Mr. Buscaino had such a fan. When we walked in and she seen him in here, she lit up. It was fantastic. We have Mr. Bryant, who is one of the representatives for the Weingart, who is truly trying to make a difference in walking the right path. And I'm here to tell you, it's not easy to do. One of the hardest things for him to do is to be my friend in that environment. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of belief, because I'm not exactly the norm. But that's okay, because what I'm doing is from my heart, and I know will better others around. Mr. Anthony, with his wonderful expression, and Mr. Bernie. These guys came together at the last minute to come and support me and represent the good that's going on down there. We know all what's wrong. Out of 650 residents, we got 5 of us. I have more coming in the time to come, and it means a lot that they came. I need to make you aware of something that I asked through these broadcasts about the nonprofit. I had the public come forward and offer some resources that I am not capable of dealing with. I have to put together a board of directors in order to handle this, but Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you. Brian McWright. Brian, this is not Brian McWright, is that correct? On MC RIGHT. Is there a Brian here on 6th Street? All right, I'm going to hold that card. Kevin Monroe. Kevin Monroe. Kevin Morrow.
Actually, I have like 2 items that I want to bring to the council's attention. One of them, the Los Angeles County, or I should say Los Angeles City Library, is providing access to porn on its property. Children enter your library, and the library, American library system, is there to educate the young, not put them in jeopardy of any harm, all right? And my other issue is there should be a water purification system in the Skid Row area, and I ask that the city place a water purification machine at the police department located on 6th and Wall Street. You could take the lead and providing clean water to the homeless. I believe I'm done, but I don't want to walk away. But I think I covered everything. Oh, yeah. And I invite you guys to do, our council members, to do a test. You can take tap water, you can put it in an ice tray, and then you can take purified water, put it in an ice tray. And that's a first-grade science project, and see what happens. And let me tell you this, all right? If the water machines don't get in the Skid Row area, and if the porn don't get out of the library, I'm gonna notify the parents. I'll put signs up in front of your library, and I'll have the homeless come and sit in front of your fine city hall protesting that they should be clear water. There's water way over here on Alvarado Street. There's water blocks away south. There's water blocks away to the east. So what's up? You tell me what. Is it structural racism?
Juan Alcala.
It is economic racism. That's what it is. It doesn't matter what race you are. If you're really poor, down and out, you're going to get less services than anybody else. By the way, the streets in Beverly Hills are really crappy. I was on the bus yesterday. I was asleep, and I knew I was going through Beverly Hills because the bus was jumping up and down on right there, Santa Monica, Wilshire Boulevard, and not even the rich get services, much less the poor. Anyway, why make such a big issue out of homelessness when the whole world is in turmoil? Well, if we make a big issue of homelessness, and if we can find a way to stop people from being homeless, I think we can end a lot of other issues like discrimination because you don't have a place to live, discrimination because you don't have a place to eat, discrimination because you don't have a place to shit, discrimination because you drive a beat-up car, discrimination because you live in your RV, discrimination because you're just another stupid human being mingling with a bunch of other stupid human beings that prevent you from having a place to live. These are called real estate rules that we created, and until we change them...
Daniel Gus, please.
Good morning. I came down here today because Mr. Labange, perhaps unwittingly, perpetrated an untruth yesterday. A couple months ago, I identified how Los Angeles Animal Services falsified 8,807 pet adoptions for animals who were really sitting in cages. They weren't adopted, they were sitting in cages. So the city of Los Angeles had to come up with another myth, that the euthanasia rate is down. Well, Mr. Labange perpetrated that myth yesterday, but it's not true. Animal Services charges poor people in Mr. Price's district, in Mr. Weezar's district, in Mr. Park's district. If you bring in an animal, whether or not it belongs to you, the city charges you $25 to leave the animal there. Poor people who can't afford that $25 fee dump the animal outside. So if you virtually lock the city shelters from taking in animals, guess what? Your intake plummets, the city can't explain it, and yeah, there are fewer animals to kill in the shelter. But it's not true, because the animals are being dumped out in your street. Furthermore, the city of Los Angeles, Best Friends, is paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to organizations to move animals all over North America without accounting for the animals. Here's Best Friends' tax document. In 2012, they paid Kinder for Animal Rescue $111,700 to move the city's animals all over North America, but this organization is suspended because they owe thousands of updates. Best Friends also paid Stray Cat Alliance $102,200 a year ago, but where are the animals that they took out? You can't explain them. And why are we giving free animals to Best Friends? Well, here's a question. Does anybody know how much money Best Friends took in the past 5 years? Here's their tax document. They took in $234,437,000. You are subsidizing Best Friends.
John Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at J. Walsh Confidential. We had a big victory. We don't come to complain, we come to gloat. And his story was in the LA Times. The neighborhood activists have told you, you must build buildings according to law. You started the Target building, it was too tall, we went to court, we have stopped the construction of the Target building. Don't listen to me, read about it in the LA Times. And the attitude here is, we don't give a damn about the law, and if you want the law, you're going to have to sue, and we will fold the law 4 times and put it up your duck's ass. I'm telling you right now, 19th ranked convention center, this is number 19. You are listening to me, America. You are listening to me, the world. Don't come to Los Angeles. It's dangerous. You can drown. You can go to the university and you can drown. I'm telling you, Austin Butner is being paid $4 million to cover things up as the publisher of the Los Angeles Times. Drone-free Los Angeles. The LAPD has a drone. Ezell Ford. We don't know who killed the officer's name. Now, in Missouri, after 6 days, that racist police force gave us the name of who shot down Brown like a dog. But here in Los Angeles, because the LA Times is racist, we don't know in 3 weeks the name of the officer who shot down Ezell Ford, because this is the most racist city in America. Do not come to the city. It's out of control. Charter school in Porter Ranch flooded out. Chaos in this city. Thank the LA Times. Thank the City Council. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Brian Barajas. Brian.
All right. All right. Let me just say something simple for everybody to actually understand something. If you're going to have a collapse and you want to stop it, you cannot tell people that the people are taking over. That's not how it works. The way you create a government. The way the government, especially in our United States, is that a group of scientists came together under the tutelage of Benjamin Franklin and created a society that made science and art, the useful science and art, and by the way, that duck is not artful. Anyways, the problem here is that we have put aside the science and art. We put it aside. So obviously society will collapse. You'll have individuals who think highly of themselves and say things like, oh, my religion teaches me to take over and do this and do that. It's stupid. If you have not learned the science and the arts, you cannot create a government. You cannot organize a society fit for a future. And like I stated, the future is what China is doing right now. Anybody who has not looked in what China has been doing with mining the moon, obviously you missed out of that. And so you're going to go backwards. You're going to be slaves, basically. And so I say that if you want to move to the future, you join with Lyndon LaRouche, who I already joined a long time ago.
Terry Reid. Terry Reid.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. This is the tribulation, according to Revelations 13:5. For those who've never made sacrifices to other gods, for persons delivered and healed under the blood of Jesus, I offer you salvation. Recite this statement out loud. I renounce Satan, every deity, false god, and everything related to the kingdom of darkness. Satan has no place in my life, now or ever. I plead the blood of Jesus over my life to cleanse me from all unrighteousness. I repent of all my sins, Father. Forgive me. I accept Jesus Christ as my Savior and Lord, now and forever. And I receive the Holy Spirit with the evidence of speaking with other tongues. Through God, rest my life. On the corner of Martin Luther King Boulevard in Crenshaw will rest as a beacon to the entire world of the imminent return of Jesus Christ. It has always been spiritual, the separation of our soul from the one God of the Bible. This is the tribulation. For I am a female, descendant of Ethiopian Jews, from the tribe of Judah, in the bloodline of Jesus Christ.
Arnold Sachs.
Yes, thank you again, Arnold Sachs. Just out of curiosity and to break up the monotony of presentation Tuesday and presentation Wednesday and presentation Friday with the news that's come about, and I hate to beat this horse to death, regarding the the Department of Water and the water spill that occurred at UCLA. Maybe the council could have like an ad hoc committee to discuss plans, because you're certainly not getting anything from the water commissioners or any information about confronting the infrastructure problem. There was a story actually yesterday in the local Daily Breeze about the city of Manhattan Beach having to shut down Pacific Coast Highway at night because they're going to replace a water line that's 100 years old. It took them a year and a half to negotiate with the California Caltrans because it's a state highway. You don't get any information about anything. And the replacement, you have water mains, the DWP's program is 300 years. Well, the city isn't 300 years old. It's not 200. Is it barely 200? So you're talking about, you should be setting up a trust fund for those replacements, trust funds, DWP. And then you have water lines. And the problem here is the media just combines the two. So water lines every 100 years, water mains every 300 years. Who's addressing this? The commissioners? That's a joke? By the way, there's a rumor about the rubber duck that it was filled with political gas. I'm here to tell you that's a false rumor because you can still see the sky.
It's Bryant, Mr. Sachs, have a nice trip back to Redondo Beach. Brian, BRYANTMCERIGHT, not here. Our last call today is Mr. Herman. Last card.
Angelenos, this draconian council has violated my rights for the most severe penalties for the smallest offense. When Sergeant of Arms threatened me, Batman, in City Hall, when City Hall asked the LAPD, the men in blue, to say to me that I am a threat for wearing a mask as Batman, representing Mr. Herman and all of you who are offended by the ADA non-compliance by the City of Los Angeles for a safer city, safer sidewalks, and safer streets and neighborhoods. However, and incidentally, we all know that Batman would never be a threat to children, LAPD, for I, for rank and file, have complained and brought to the attention of Chief Beck and all of you 15 illegal, extortionist councilmen, draconian councilmen, who purposely offend me by the smallest offense. It is our mayor who said, fuck it, not I, Batman. So let's get on the real subject. Quality of service for all Angelenos. Quality of service for all Americans who are homeless. All VAs who continue to beg you when they should not. Because back in World War II, it shouldn't have happened. But you become the racist, despicable me.
That
Jew.
completes public comment there. Thank you for our ITA and sound. That completes public comment. Madam Clerk, what's before us?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
So ordered.
The desk is clear.
Any announcements, members? Announcements, Mr. President, Mr. Wesson.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. I have a few personal announcements that I'd like to make today. I want to wish my middle son happy birthday, my son Patrick, and my youngest, his daughter, and my youngest granddaughter. I want to wish Tatiana happy birthday today. They were born on the same day. And to my granddaughter, Leah, today is her first day at school. So my wife went to see her, and we have a bet going to see if she cried or not, because she swore to her poppy that she was not going to cry. But I want, since they watch us on a regular basis, I want to say happy birthday, son. Happy birthday, Tatiana, my Billiken, and good luck to you, my Leah, my flying squirrel. Poppy loves you.
All right, we'll second all those motions for you. We're right behind you, Mr. President. Mr. O'Farrell.
President, colleagues, I just want to let my constituents know that tomorrow morning I have another council member in your corner, a walk in Glassell Park. We're going to meet at the Drew Street Community Garden, 3304 Drew Street, and distribute information and resources on how constituents can better access local government. So if you would like to join, we'll see you at the garden tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock in Glassell Park. Thank you.
But in Glass Hill Park, not at Glass Hill Park, but it's
In Glass Hill Park, but we're meeting at the Garden.
at the Garden. And the correct address of the Garden?
3304 Drew Street.
Drew Street.
Yeah.
Cross Street Avenue.
Astara.
Astara. Good. Very good. Thank you, Mitch. That's a good program. Councilman on the corner. Very good. Any other announcements? We got that big announcements of the Tall Ships and the Great Jazz Festival in Mr. Sadia's district in Highland Park. Any adjourning motions, members? Seeing no adjourning motions, this meeting is concluded. Go on and serve the people of Los Angeles well, and we thank our staffs for the great job.